Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's episode 158. I am Mike Milan, the Super Chiefs fan of San Antonio, Texas. Here we are. That is my friend, my partner, my confidant, Blaine Birch, the second best Chiefs fan on the planet.
I didn't even know there was a baseball game tonight. So,
oh, this is a baseball jersey, but that's what I did it for. I wanted to be something different. It's not a baseball game. It's a football game. It is the football game. It is the Mike Milan Bowl, right? So the other Mike Milan has the Baltimore Ravens. I've got the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know what? Because of that, you remember what's on the line. What's on the line tonight during this game? The winner of the game gets – where's it at? I'm just going to go get it.
it's down. Gets the Mike Milan Bowl. Oh, here. Oh, it was up there. This decanter and, check out the inscription. Hold that inscription up there.
All right, it's called the Mike Milan Bowl, right? Established in 2011. So this thing's old now. This thing is old. It's got MM on the back. This is the traveling trophy. Think about it like the Stanley Cup for Mike Milans. Right? But the winner of the Kansas City Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens football game gets to have this. So my hope is I don't have to ship it.
That would be paid.
I don't have to ship it. But in case I have to ship it, I better help empty it just a little bit.
You're going to have to drink all of that up before. If you have to ship it, you can drown your sorrows with the rest of your bourbon there.
There you go.
I will let you stick with the bourbon today. So
to the other Mike Milan, I hope you never see this again, except for on this show.
Yeah, I'm seeing comments already, taking it back tonight on our chat. So
that's funny. Boy. All right. So anyway, this is really good, right? Because I'm going to have a little bit. This is to the Chiefs three-peat. There's never been a Super Bowl winning team win 3 years in a row. The Chiefs have an opportunity this season. So super excited about it. I tell you, after I went through all that heartache, you got to remember, it was 50 years between Super Bowl wins.
Yeah.
That's a lot of heartache for me.
I know the feeling from a Stanley Cup perspective, but hey, we just signed Draisaitl to 8 years, and McDavid, I don't think will be too far behind. So we got a chance to finally break the goose egg one of these years.
Got it. Well, I'll tell you what, we got some beer sponsors going on. So who you got today?
And I got to say, if you're listening to the show, this isn't even a sports show, but it's biz, beer, and BS, and we started with a bunch of BS. Now we're going to circle into beer, then we'll get to biz. We're going to talk about some business stuff, and it was interesting today because the topic, I love the topic, unknown unknowns, and how those unknown unknowns can hurt your business. How do you prepare for them? How do you deal with them when they hit? All of those types of things. And so I'm always looking for a beer that kind of connects, and this beer was an unknown. It is called Chromesthesia from the establishment in Calgary's Imperial Hazy IPA. I had never heard the word Chromesthesia before, but I looked it up because I thought, I wonder if they made that word up or if it's a thing. It's a thing. Get this. I'm going to read it because it's hard to explain. Chromesthesia is when sound involuntarily evokes an experience of color, shape, and movement in people that have the affliction. So they hear a sound and they see colors and shapes and stuff. And I'm like, I've never even heard it before. So that was an unknown to me before today.
Yeah. It's probably when Baltimore Mike Milan hears Chiefs win, and he gets all these grays and black shapes and all this stuff all around him. These sad black feelings, and he cries.
He listens to Paint It Black at 10. Anyway, so now we're really poking fun at Baltimore Mike, the other Mike Milan, but we do also want to thank you, Mike, because Mike is one of our beer sponsors and is a beer sponsor till the end of the year. So thanks again, Mike.
There you go. Hey, another beer sponsor that is with us always. And I still have a growler of his stuff right in my fridge right now today that he gave me. Neighbor Pat, right? Neighbor Pat. And guess what? We haven't played bags in a while. So Neighbor Pat has done a great job. He's done a great job maintaining his non-winning, non-losing record this week.
So Neighbor Pat, you're undefeated for the last little while.
Yeah, a little while. So, yeah, but he makes great beer, so keep bringing the beer. I appreciate that. All right. So I appreciate that.
And also, we got to thank Larry Weinstein, best CPA in Houston. So if you're looking for a CPA, you definitely want to look up Larry.
Yeah, and then we got Rachel Barnett. She runs Gentle Frog. Gentle Frog, if you need to know anything about QuickBooks, if you want to learn how to do it, how to run it, how to understand it, just be better at QuickBooks all the way around, contact Rachel over at Gentle Frog.
And we have a new 5-episode sponsor, and this is probably the most exciting one for you. I'm going to let you announce it.
Oh my God. I've got to tell you, I was so surprised. I'm sitting there right next to her. It's Court. You might have heard me talk about Courtney all the time. She lives just in the same house as I do. But it was like, I don't know what she was trying to do. She goes, I'm going to sponsor your show. She didn't even tell me that. I just got an email that says, Courtney just bought you 5 beers. I'm like going, why didn't you just buy me the beer instead of give me the money? But oh my God, it's just, that goes to show you that even the people close to us think this is worth their money. Think about that. Where, I mean, we're here, we're together. This is us. That is my woman, right? So she felt compelled to make a decision to sponsor the show. And all I can do is say, I love her even more just for doing that. So she'll be talked about for the next 5 shows. And that's the absolute worst thing that she wants. She never wants me to even say her name on this show, but I'm going to talk about her because she's a beer sponsor now.
Yeah, that was probably a bad move then, Courtney. If you don't want to be mentioned, because now you're going to be mentioned on the show.
That's right.
But she also knows the theme song, which I think is even awesomer. So
she does know the theme song. She'll go around. I'll start to sing it, and she'll finish the line. I'm like, oh, maybe we can do a duet, maybe a little chorus thing going on. So
maybe that's what we'll do in episode 200. Is we'll actually do you guys singing the theme song, and I'll just do a little video over top of it, and we'll just have like a custom, instead of our all pro one that we got now.
Yeah, I don't know. I like their theme song.
I love our theme song. But it'd be fun listening to you and Courtney sing it.
There's no way on earth that I could get her to do that. I mean, she would rather run outside and pick up a frog than sing. And she don't want to pick up a frog.
Right. I was thinking I kind of like frogs. They're kind of fun, so they're neat. Yeah. But okay, well then we won't do that, Courtney, because you are a valued beer sponsor. So, and we really appreciate it.
I talked to somebody today. They go, you actually get people to just sponsor the show for beer, buy you a beer? I'm going, yeah, all the time. We haven't had, what are we, like 100+ weeks in a row?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even know if we added it up, we might have had enough beer sponsors. Probably do. Oh, we do, because we have like 4 of them. We have had enough beer sponsors to cover all of our shows probably 2 or 3 times over, which is pretty fun. So yeah, if you want to be a beer sponsor, just go to mikeandblaine.com. You can buy us a beer for $5. You get like 1 week for $5. So we are the most reasonably priced sponsorship you could ever do.
Easily. I mean, that's $5 well spent. So
absolutely.
The other thing is that go to our website, subscribe, like. I mean, we're 158 episodes in. We're getting a few thousand downloads now and views and things like that. We're getting views. We're getting people talking about us. We are right now starting to become a 4 or 5 season success. Right? It's taken that long. Overnight success. I think that's how you say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're all over the place. So, and actually what was kind of funny is we had one of our shorts, didn't go like massively viral, but it was almost 9,000 views. And I thought it was hilarious. People were commenting on it and all this, like, oh, okay, that's kind of fun. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah. So I talked to a person that does podcast, I don't know, coaching, we'll say, right. And contacted me through LinkedIn. I talked with her for about 30 minutes and she's got some great stuff. She's got some good stuff. She goes, but you guys have a strategy. I'm like, we do? What's the strategy? They said, because every episode you're going to go in cold. You're going to go in and have to debate something hot. And I said, yeah, because it's the closest to emulating a real conversation as we can get. We're not taking notes in. We're just doing it. Here's a topic, talk. It's like the Saturday Night Live with Mike Myers, right? Like, here's a topic, talk amongst yourself. And that's what we do every show.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been fun because of that.
And it's not emulating a real conversation. It is literally just a real conversation that we record, which is kind of fun because this part we actually have a little bit down pat. But once we get into this topic of unknown unknowns, we just start chatting about it. And honestly, there's times when we're going through the podcast and I kind of forget we're recording. We're just BSing about something. But it is a really interesting topic. Oh, did you show us what beer you've got going today?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I have a beer. I was
about to dive into the topic, but yeah, that was.
I forgot all about it. Yeah, I actually drink beer during the show too. So, all right. So I found one and I pulled it out like on unknown. It's by Pinthouse, but I don't know if there's an electric jellyfish out there at all. Have you ever heard of that? Electric jellyfish. I know there's electric.
No.
But the reason I picked this one was because here it is. I know it's a skull and crossbone, but it looked like a little football helmet. For the start of the season, it's like a little football helmet, drinking beer, but it's called Electric Jellyfish by Pinthouse Brewery. I mean, it's kind of a cool, you always pick the coolest looking cans, but I think this one worked out for me.
That's a cool looking can. Anyway. It is. Yeah. Good on that.
I didn't pick it for unknown unknowns. I picked it for the guy drinking it. It looked like yeah, because think about it. Our logo is skulls.
Yeah.
So it's not like a skull, but it looks like a football helmet drinking a beer.
Football helmet, yeah. Nice. Yeah. All right,
there we go. Now we're back up to speed. So I always kind of tell people, I'm like, here's how I come up with the idea, right? And I am legit telling you, these ideas, I don't even think about them until right before the show. Blaine can attest because sometimes he'll see me writing the description as we're getting on to record. Yeah, that's how fresh this is. And I sit down and I go, what's a cool conversation I had this week? And this one was, I put it in I don't know if you keep one of these. I keep one of these little notebooks. And this little notebook specifically is just about cool stuff that I've either said or I heard somebody else say. I'm like, I want to remember that for something. And it's probably going to be for my kids later when I die. What was Dad doing writing all this crazy stuff? Because it's just like this. It's a pen and paper.
Nice.
But here's what I said. And Larry was on the call and I was talking to another CPA and I going, I just don't know if I can get my clients, in this case, to do this advisory services. You got to remember, accountants are in a big major shift in their industry. You might be in one in your own company, but they're shifting everything from transactional, just entering your transactions, entering your receipts, doing your taxes, doing your reports, to now they have to look into the future and tell you what to do next. Here's how you fix it. So because of that, there's a little bit of, they're scared, man. They're scared. I hadn't had to do that before.
Yeah.
And what I told the person when he said, I don't know that they'll listen to me about this. And what I said was, they don't know what they don't know. And because you never provided it, they don't even know they need it. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing that resonated with that group. They're like going, I didn't think about it that way. They don't know they need it because you've never provided it. If it was important before, you would have given it to them. So what I want to talk about today was not only unknowns and making decisions, but sometimes your clients need things that they don't even know they need, and you already have it. You can provide it, and you don't know it either.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from.
Well, and like we were talking right before the show, like that's where the idea sort of came from. But unknown unknowns plague every single business, and it's a scary thing for business owners that we don't like to think about. But boy, when they hit that, like unknown unknowns usually hit you, and it's those things that you look back on later and say, I learned that the hard way, right? Yeah. So But just like you were saying, like a CPA can advise their clients on some of these things and sort of highlight it. But if you're a business owner, it's not just go to your CPA and talk with them, but how are you reducing the risk of unknown unknowns? What are you doing on a daily and weekly basis? Who are you talking to? What are you reading? How are you learning so that sometimes some of these things will actually pop up and you can address them before they hit? Because it's a scary thing to just kind of sit and wait.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we do like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, because at least makes you think of things that could hurt you. Because the unknown, it could be any one of those three. It could be a strength. I didn't know I had that. Like these people, not these people, the accountants and bookkeepers that I'm working with, they can already give financial advice. That's a strength. They're already in financial statements every day. They're already kind of seeing it going through. They just need to be able to change the way they describe it to somebody else so the regular person can see it the same way. Sometimes it's just a language problem, and they have the strength. They're just not exploiting it because they don't feel like it.
Well, and of course, it's an enormous challenge because if you said to someone, well, you want to know all the unknown unknowns. Well, that's the problem is you don't know what they are. You're never going to be sort of prepared for all of them, but there's almost like a general preparation that you can do. So I think part of it is learning as much as you can about your domain, but also what are the things that aren't in your domain that could affect you? Because I know, like with business owners, where do they go? They go into their comfort zone. It's like, hey, we're manufacturing a widget. Yeah, I really like to look over and over again at the same machine doing the same thing, because it's their comfort zone. But what are the other things that you're not familiar with that you could start to do a little reading on? Talk with people, talk with other entrepreneurs, talk with colleagues, see to learn what potential risks could be out there that you haven't thought about. But the other part of it is there's stuff that's going to hit you because it's unknown. You're never going to be, it's always going to be unexpected. But are there things you can do, put in place so that no matter what hits you, you have some kind of plan in place, disaster relief plan, cash flow nest egg? Like what is it that can actually give you some wiggle room to deal with some of the unknowns that are going to hit your business?
Well, I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about AI. I'm sure the people building those products right now are trying to put them into their product. You don't know what's going to happen next. The reason why I haven't put it in my product, except for in the notes text editor, because I don't care if it helps you rewrite something. I'm not going to let it analyze data right now because it's the unknown. I'm like, I don't know what's going to do next.
Yeah.
So the risk mitigation is I'm going to contain it into just part of it. I'm going to leverage it because it's cool ass technology that's going to take over the future, but it gives me time to learn. So maybe you just take a small step rather than the jumping right into the deep end.
And that's an interesting thing because we're kind of doing the same thing. We are running tests all the time. We're running tests on test data. I think we're quite a ways away still from doing any sort of release of anything that could potentially do even some basic analysis of data, because we have to have a high level of trust that it's going to be helpful and accurate and useful, right? But I heard a comment. There was someone, I think it was a VC I was talking with just a few weeks ago. Pretty sure it was a VC. And one of his comments was, there is going to be kind of a highway littered with dead companies that are AI companies because they really don't know what the outcome may possibly be. Is it ready yet? Will the public accept it? Will businesses accept it? Like it's so early and there's going to be some upheaval. And so like running an AI company, it's like everyone wants to invest and it's the bleeding edge and everything. It's like, it is one of the riskiest things you can do because it's like, I'll say it's almost like the Shopify sort of equation for me. It's at one point it took so much money and so much work to build an e-commerce store, and then Shopify came along and said everyone can do it for $20. And so unless you're the big enterprise ones, you just did it for $20, and suddenly it democratized e-commerce. Well, I think what happens in AI and what's increasingly happening is some of these companies are literally just going to be replaced with off-the-shelf chat AI that can actually other people can plug into and use. Not everybody, not all of it. Some of it is so customized. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are just going to be replaced because people like you and me can just you can add it in. You don't have to write. You don't have to create AI. You could to help with their writing. You just plug it in, right?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that a lot of the startups that I'm seeing now, because I'm more plugged into the startup world in San Antonio now, because I've been working with the university, I'm seeing folks trying to create a prompt generator, right? Which is, you want to do something. You want to write the perfect proposal for a grant. And they will pretty much take the questions off the grant application and ask you those questions and generate your answers, right? Based on some other fields and stuff you fill out. I'm like going, that's really just customized prompts. That's not really a business. That's a short term. I mean, probably nobody's going to buy that, because I can just, once I figure out how to ask the questions, I just pay the $20 a month, to Chat GPT, and it's done. Right. So I think that's a short term thing. You're going to have to leverage AI to look into the future. And the way to look into the future is you have to feed it a shit ton of data. Believe it or not, that's what they're doing now at Google, at Microsoft, at Apple. They are feeding this thing so much data that they're looking for how it responds to the data, but it only responds to the question. And the thing about data is that one anomaly, the AI might interpret it as natural, as normal, as something that happens all the time in a randomized order or in a specific order. Yeah. And it might interpret the effect of that one thing differently than you would as a human. It gives it more weight.
Yeah.
Right.
The challenge that AI has, and because I know people think it's going to become, it's like Terminator, it's like it's going to be smarter than all of us. Well, some of the challenges, some of the things that AI is not good at now, and honestly, some of the things that a human brain does, I don't even think it's going to be able to do in 100 years, because you can't feed it everything. And even if you could, I don't think it can determine when A is going to affect B when they don't seem connected. And I'll give you the most obvious description here is, let's say we were using AI to build financial forecasts. And March 2020 or whatever, everything shuts down because of COVID. And the forecast, and even the week too before that, you're going, this is not looking good. And it's going to look at historical financial data and say, you guys are poised to have the biggest year ever. And then another company, you guys are going to really struggle. And people can make the connection and go, uh-oh, this is all shutting down. But people are going to be, some of it is somewhat predictable, but disconnected. Bike shops suddenly were selling bikes everywhere because people couldn't go anywhere except they go and pedal a bike. So some businesses got destroyed, literally gone within a couple of months. Some businesses skyrocketed and they couldn't even get enough inventory. Other businesses just couldn't get inventory because shipping was slowed down. All of these things happened, and week over week, you're looking at things that seem completely disconnected from finances, business finances, that are actually the only thing or the biggest thing affecting the business's finances, right?
Yeah. So there's two things I think will AI, when you talk about 100 years from now, I think instinct, that there's a feeling that happens, right? You see it, you hear it, you're listening to the stories, you're like, we're not doing it, right? You can't explain up front why you didn't do something or why you did something. It just felt right.
Mm-hmm.
That's an instinct. That's the gut. And there's still a little bit of that we have that the computer doesn't. The gut of what to do next. And then timing of when to do it, they'll never know. I don't think the internet will ever know that, or the AI bots will ever know that.
Like, and it's interesting because I've heard I remember reading an article, I've probably brought it up on the show before, but that gut instinct is actually, it's your subconscious doing pattern recognition. Mm-hmm. So that's why you're like, it's not actually just, or it's other senses that are grabbing something, but it's pattern recognition for a person, right? Like we were out biking on the weekend, and the forecast was beautiful weather, beautiful weather, beautiful weather. And then all of a sudden it's just like, uh-oh, I felt this before. The temperature just dropped out of nowhere. The also was like, uh-oh, rain's coming, right? And it didn't rain hard, but it was like, that wasn't in the forecast. Nobody thought it was coming, but instantly we're like, we got to hustle. We got to get home because could get hit in a storm. But think of that even from a business perspective. Like if you're analyzing data and it's like, yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be sunny, and you're going, okay, do I bring more staff to work on the patio tonight? And then you walk outside and you feel that and go, uh-oh, yeah, I think it might be rainy tonight. That's something, again, like people can feel that because there's more input than just data on a screen, right? Or data in a database.
All right. So that's really interesting because I've heard you say that before and I really thought about it. And I think you're right in most cases. It's pattern recognition. And then I'm like going, well, what about the point in time when you fall in love? Some people can't even pinpoint the exact moment. Some people can, but they don't know why it is that moment versus another. Right? There's a feeling that happens, and they say it happens in the limbic part of the brain, which has no capacity for language or logic. But that's where the feeling originates. So what is the pattern you recognize then? Is it like you're talking to me the way I like to be talked to? I like touch. I mean, the love languages. What is it that gets you to fall in love?
Oh man,
that's a gut feeling, right?
Well, off into BS territory. Well, no, but is that a gut feeling or is that something different? I'm not totally sure. I have no idea. Like, yeah, and maybe it is some sort of pattern recognition where I'm better off with this person than I'm not. I have no idea, right?
I don't think that's left field because it's an unknown. Why, how, when do you fall in love? I mean, people think it's random chance. Hell, there are stories about Cupid. Instantly, the guy gets shot with an arrow and he's in love. So, I mean, there are certain things that I don't think a computer will ever emulate. And part of it is that human connection to others, right?
Yeah.
And the timing when it happens. We can't control that sometimes when things happen.
I'm going to stretch it even a little bit further because, we talk all the time and it's 100% true. Business is built on relationships. Business is built people to people, person to person, right? And why do some people that you meet, you just jive with, right? You just, you sit down, you can have a conversation and it feels like you've known them for years. And then other times it's like you might even like him, might be a really nice person, but there's some kind of disconnect, right? And, but there is so much still done person to person, people to people, developing relationships, talking with other people, referring other people. This is just, that's still so much how business is done. Right. And I don't think that's something you can emulate with a machine.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of stretching things out a little bit longer, if you want to stretch out your cash flow, if you never want to run out of cash again, if you want to always know what's going to happen next and be able to simulate and emulate and, create scenarios of what ifs, you need to contact Dry Run and my friend Blaine Birch.
Yeah, come over and talk with us, especially if you're trying to forecast and manage a cash flow in a spreadsheet right now. We know the more complex it gets, the more time you're spending, and it starts to compound when you have multiple team members. And that's where we pick up our pace more and more. When cash flow is complex, when there's volatility, when it's lumpy, we don't know when it's coming in, what's happening in our sales pipeline. There's so much uncertainty. You try and tackle it in a spreadsheet, but you know what happens is your data's out of date. There's a bunch of broken equations. It's hard to explain, and you're always a week behind. Come and visit us at Dry Run, because we will save you at least 70% of the time you're spending in spreadsheets. Your data will be accurate. It'll be up to date. And when you look at the forecast, everyone will understand what they're looking at.
Yeah. If you haven't checked out dryrun.com, go to dryrun.com right now and sign up for you still got a free trial. You got to go to demo now.
Yeah. Sign up for a demo, because we love talking with people. We want to walk you through so that you're kicking it off on the right path. And we even have a little chat bubble there. So even if you have a quick question, just come and pop in a little question and we'll get back to you.
There you go. All right. So again, here's how this started, right? I think that people, if you're talking to your customer, if you're a business owner, sometimes they don't know what you offer. Sometimes they don't know you can provide it. And because you've never talked about it, because you've never thought about offering it to them, they don't think of you in that capacity. I mean, that used to happen to me all the time in janitorial. Believe it or not, my very first company, I'm like, how come you guys didn't ask me to do your floors? Because they'd want to strip and wax the tile floors, or they would have marble and they would want to do the diamond buffing on it and shine it all up. How come you didn't ask me? Oh, we didn't know you did that. I'm your janitorial company. Now, I know it's something you only do on occasion. You don't do it every month. You don't do it every week. You do it like once a year or every year. But you should have at least let me bid on it. But they didn't know, right? Because they didn't know I provided it. I never told them, so they didn't think they needed it from me.
Yeah. The biggest barrier, and this could be a topic for another week, the biggest barrier I see for a lot of businesses in their sort of marketing and communications is they're speaking with an internal voice. They're using their lingo, their language, which is usually jargon. And one of the worst cases I've seen in the last couple of months, we actually had a business sign up for a trial with Dry Run, and we're always doing a little research. Okay, what's this business about? What are the challenges they have? All that kind of stuff. And I looked at their website for about 5 minutes, and I still had no idea what they did. None. I'm probably not their market, but I'm not even sure about that, because it wasn't like some weird laboratory technical thing. They were selling something to business, but I could not figure out for the life of me what the hell they were selling, because it just looked like jargon soup. It was like, can we get like an English major? I don't want to disparage English majors, but can you make something sound really wordy and really complicated, because that will make us sound smart? I think that's what they were thinking. And I looked at it and I'm like, I just don't have a clue. And then the reason I remember it is because I actually dug around for a while, because I was finding it pretty fascinating. I'm like, I really don't know what they're selling here.
Well, what's funny is that they're really not sticking to their knitting over there. And hiring out. They're good at whatever they do, obviously.
No, they might as well be saying, hey, I'm selling a fiddle hopper. And I'm like, well, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you. That's pretty good.
Or two secret words worked in two sentences.
Secret word. There you go. Right? Because you're getting better. You're getting better at picking it up and throwing it in there. I called you out one time. But
there's also about 11 weeks in a row where I did both, and you were just left in the ditch.
That's true. All right. So here's what I'm thinking, right? Have you ever heard about the levels of competency that people have? Right. It goes from, all right. So, in any given skill, any given piece of knowledge you have, the first one is called unconscious incompetent. And really what that means is I don't even know what I don't know. And the levels of competency go all the way to conscious, competent.
Okay, so I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that 90% of the people on social media are the first one.
Yeah. Well, maybe so, right? You don't know what you don't know, so you just talk, right? It's just like, hey, I'm going to fill this space.
That's the but. You believe you know it.
Well, you know what's funny is that every time they add lanes, everybody's like, oh, thank God they added lanes to the highway. No. Anytime you add space, it gets occupied. It really does. You cannot solve traffic jams by adding more lanes. You cannot. You're going to create a bigger traffic jam.
I read, and this would have been an unknown until I imagine they had data. I read about a week ago, and I think it's been around a while, so it's not a recent thing, but that tailgating is what causes like such a massive slowdown. And they said that if you could actually get even space in front and behind your vehicle and its uniform, speeds of traffic by something like 30 or 40%. Like it's unbelievable how much just by not tailgating.
You know the rule that I teach my kids, and I teach, like even Mallory in the other room. I'm like going, you should be able to see the tires hitting the ground of the car in front of you. If you did that and the person behind me did that, we would have that even space. We wouldn't get closer to that. I should be able to see the tires hitting the pavement.
It's not really a standard of measurement. Because imagine if you have a big jacked up truck.
No, but you can't measure. You can't measure shit. Yeah, but you can't measure shit though. I mean, while you're driving, it's an approximate guess. And I'll tell you,
that's why they need laser beams.
All right, so after 7 years being a state trooper, if you were stopped and somebody hit you from behind, chances are higher you would not hit the car in front of you if you stopped where you could see the tires on the pavement in front of you.
Yeah.
There'd be enough distance that you wouldn't be in a big car pileup, right? That's the major traffic jams that happen in accidents is all these cars get piled up together because they're following too close.
Yeah. Well, and you can see even with tailgating, even if they don't hit anybody, if you slam on the brakes, it's all the way back. It goes back miles if everyone until there's a huge space in traffic. And if there's just enough space, then the traffic keeps moving. So logically, it makes sense, but not logically for people that are actually driving, I guess. So.
Well, in driver's ed, they teach you X number of car lengths per 10 miles per hour, or they'll say, I used to count, was it 2 seconds? I think it was a 2-second count. That if you went by, I would go 1,001, 1,002, and if you were inside that, you were following too close, right? But the thing is about that, you got to be either watching like a standardized telephone pole of the person in front of you, like going, oh, they went by it, 1,001, 1,002, I'm too close, back up. That's why I like the tire method. At least I got something I can see in real time and be able to react to it in real time.
So if this is this big of an issue and it actually would fix traffic that much, then there should be the manufacturers should be basically forced to put something on the car. That
mine has it. My car has it. I can put how many car lengths I want to follow somebody at. And if I push cruise control, it will keep me there. No matter what the speed that person is going, it will keep me at that distance.
But it doesn't work unless everybody has it. And it's yeah.
But it starts to work. It starts to work if I have
it starts to work. Yeah. Yeah. If Mike's good, everyone else is screwed. No, like mine makes noises and shit and stuff pops up on my heads up and all that. But it's interesting because if this is such a big issue, then maybe they should start ticketing people that are tailgating instead of people that are going 13 kilometers over the speed limit on basically a freeway.
How fast is that?
Like 7 miles an hour. I got a ticket yesterday for basically on a freeway going 13 kilometers over. Like on an area where there's no intersections, there's no on or off ramps, that's why the photo radar was there, obviously, because they just were making a few bucks. So I'm still chapped about that.
Oh, dude, they're still doing photo tickets up there?
Oh, yeah. It's so aggravating.
Dude, those are pretty much done here. Pretty much
it is
done.
In Phoenix, too. I think they got rid of them.
Yeah.
Here, there's some roads they're not allowed to have them on, but it's not like they're in front of a park with kids playing. It's like, let's find the place where people are likely to speed because there's virtually no danger. It's just like ticket. That was one of those. I wasn't even driving fast.
Yeah. Here's why I didn't fly in most states in the U.S. because you couldn't verify who was actually driving.
Yeah.
I might have loaned my car to you and you did it and I get the ticket because I owned the car. That's where everybody argued. I'm like, you can't even prove I was driving that day. Chances are you were. But it just, you couldn't prove that you committed the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're in Canada where they would just say that we don't care, we want the money. So too bad. That's just how it works up here. So
all right, so for me, that would be an unknown unknown. I'm like, I didn't know they would do that to me. And I probably wouldn't be able to go back to Canada because I'm like, I'm not paying that speeding ticket.
Yeah, you're just like, nope, I'm out.
Just won't go to Canada.
Just won't go to Canada again. Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right, so unknown unknowns. Yep. What are some ways that you can think about the unknown, right? I mean, first of all, by saying that, you're already thinking about it. You're like, okay, well, I've got this plan. I'm trying to do these things. I know there's things out there that I don't know yet, but here's how I'm going to try to mitigate the impact of things that I don't know about. And I think it has to do with isolation of a process, or I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it starts with, you don't even know where to look. If I said, what are your unknown? Obviously, I think the first thing is you don't know what you don't know. So start talking with people that are in somewhat of a similar space. Start reading books about your industry and a topic that probably isn't, like I said, if you're a manufacturer, you might not need to read another book on manufacturing, or maybe you do. Maybe you absolutely do. But should you be looking at finance, legal, trademark? Like, I don't know. Like that's the thing, is that there's at least you can start educating yourselves on areas that you're not overly comfortable with and not overly familiar with. Like, basically, if the rule is get outside your comfort zone, that's probably a good start. And then look at, are there gaps? Like, you may not be able to predict what the issue is, but there are things that, hey, if another COVID hit, or for whatever reason we were shut down for a certain amount of time, can we sustain ourselves? Can we keep operating? We don't know what could shut us down, but could we keep operating? We don't know what could cost us money, but do we have a nest egg? We don't know who might leave the business, but do we have a backup? So it's not necessarily the unknown. It's that you have some sort of backup in place when you really could get hit from any which side, right?
Yeah. So it's like, I think about it like this. Some of the rules that we see in society are made because there was once an unknown unknown. And the reason I say that is, as a state trooper, I was in Missouri in the 90s when meth was nothing to, it was a big thing. Missouri for a long time was like one of the highest producers of meth in the United States. Well, think about that. How do you figure out that this thing's even bad for you? What should you do when you search a property? So I got enough evidence. I'm like, hey, here's these bags of meth. I bet there's a meth lab in this house or trailer or whatever. Well, it wasn't me. I mean, it happened to me once early on. You don't know that you can't open a refrigerator when you're making a search for a meth lab. You don't know that because you're making a search. You're like, oh, I'm going to open this up. Usually that's where they're storing. And in this case, the one that happened to me is a Anhydrous ammonia, the tank, is sitting inside the refrigerator and being contained because it's kind of a sealed environment. You open that up, guess what you get a whiff of right off the bat, and you know it. Anhydrous ammonia. And if you get too much of it, you go right down to the ground. I mean, it just knocks you out. Just absolutely knocks you out. That's why you see on like Breaking Bad, you see him with the mask and all that. That should knock you out.
Yeah.
I opened the fridge like this, like, oh shit, there's something in there. Shut it real quick. And like, hey, don't go in there. I don't know what it is, but it was enough. I mean, you know, when you smell something bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's where rules start to set in. Don't open this. If you suspect that it's a meth lab, don't do these things because it could be dangerous to your health, dangerous to you. I'm sure that's how it is in every business. There's things that nobody expected somebody to do, and now there's a dumb rule.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, it reminds me of I don't remember the exact sort of wording because it was probably 30 years ago, but a Simpsons episode where I just remember there was like the Homer had a ticket, and on the back of the ticket for like the baseball game or whatever, it said, "Do not eat." And he said, "They put that in because of me." Yes. Okay. I'm going to talk about an unknown to me because I'm curious if you've heard of this. So we met some friends at a brewery on the weekend. We were chatting with them, and they were talking about, they were sent a radon testing kit. And then and I'm like, I don't even know what radon is, but apparently they filled out this testing thing, they sent it away, and they had a high level of radon. So then they bought a sensor that detects radon, and they had to have someone come and do a little bit of work on their house, especially around the sump pump, because apparently it comes from the ground. Because next to smoking, radon is the number one cause of lung cancer. I'd never heard the word radon before. I didn't know this was a thing at all, but apparently you could be breathing this stuff in your house and it's really unhealthy. And I looked on, like I did a quick search online. I'm like, oh my God, this is a thing. There's like, it's all over the place. And there's radon sensors and all this stuff. And they're expensive. And I bought this radon sensor. It connects to my phone. I've got like, it shows the graph of the radon and everything. And so I turned it on and I carried it around the house. And I got to tell you, okay, it's great news. Our radon level is 0. But I feel a little ripped off because I spent like a couple $100 on a stupid radon detector to find out that we're at 0. So now I'm like, well, we're taking it down to Arizona. We should at least have a 1. And apparently it's under 200. You're okay. And we got like 0. And I'm like, okay.
I think it's really localized, that radon stuff. I mean, that went around down here, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. People go, it was around the time when carbon monoxide detectors came off. Carbon monoxide, is that right? Yeah.
Carbon monoxide, yeah.
Then they came out with radon detectors. And I think most people says, that's not as big a deal unless you're in an area where it's known to be, right? So there is something that emits. So if you don't buy a house in a radon area, you don't need one.
And I had no idea, but I thought, I'm still not like, I want to know, right? I just want to know. And I could get this testing kit for like $50, but then I have to like, you leave it for a month and then you send it away to a lab and you do all this. I'm like, oh, screw that. I'm just buying the one that connects to my phone. So now we've got this radon detector that we apparently don't need. So I don't know. I'll start passing around the family. Everyone check if you have radon. This is
a $200 test you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. Here you go. Here's your, someone have radon. So I feel, justified in buying this stupid detector. But anyway.
Yes. So I like when we find something that's unknown because then we can start to change. So sometimes it comes out to be something great, right? Sometimes, it's just like going, oh my God, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know that people would buy that. These things, I do 1 to 4 live events a year. That was never part of my original business plan. That was an unknown thing to me. Like, I didn't know I could do that and people would pay for it and travel from across the country. I should have known that. I guess I should have known it. But to me, it was an unknown because it was never part of the way I wanted to run my business. Mm-hmm. Right. So now I'm trying to adjust because I don't even have time to fit it in, but people are asking for it more and more, so I have to fit it in.
Yeah, they're going to come flying at you. Little ones probably every other day. It's the big ones that are the worry that you just, I won't go into detail. It's not that interesting, but we got hit with one today in the business. You're like, it becomes a head slapper. You're like, well, if we knew, we would have dealt with it 6 months ago. It's not like a big deal, but it's kind of like, oh my God, I had no idea, right? Like, it just happens. But if, it's like I said, you try to be prepared by having systems and processes and backup plans and everything in place, just so that when weird shit hits, you're hopefully covered.
All right. So when you said that, it reminded me of a story when I had the janitorial company. I had a project manager on a site. And I would think that everything that goes to the project manager, if it's bad, it comes to me so I can address it, right? If you can't fix it, let me address it. Mm-hmm. I get called into a big client. And this guy is he's almost standing on the table throwing shit. He's that mad. And I'm like going, hey, you told that person and this person and this person over here, but you never told me. I said, I didn't know. I didn't know this was an issue. And I said, if you had told me, I would have fixed it that day. Mm-hmm. And then he says, well, I told that person, the project manager, and they should have told you. I agree with that, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know because it was an unknown problem that was happening because somebody else was afraid to tell me.
Yeah.
And what I said, right or wrong, was, listen, I get it. I can fix this right now. Would you be kind enough to catch your bill up? You're 90 days behind. 3 months behind. And this guy took his pad, threw it on the table and says, you shut up. I'm like going, you're sitting here kicking my ass. All of a sudden his boss gets up, stops the meeting and goes, we haven't paid you in 3 months. I'm like, oh, no, you're sitting here kicking my ass on all these things that I can fix, but you haven't paid me in 3 months. And the bill was $15,000 a month for janitorial.
Yeah.
They're at $45,000 to me and called me into a meeting and they're just kicking my ass over little stuff that I can fix in a day, in a minute. I just didn't know about it. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that sticks in me. I've never been, and at that point in time, I'm like a year and a half, maybe 2 years out of being a state trooper. Yeah, I remember people don't talk to me like that when I was a state trooper. So yeah, exactly. I had to adjust to that at the same time. Like, going, oh, you're going to jail. Oh, I can't take him to jail. Calm down, Mike. Calm down.
Nice. This was okay. I'm gonna tell everyone a little tiny funny story because before we got on the show, I had a collared shirt on, and I popped into a meeting with my co-founder earlier today, and I had this collared shirt on, and it was because I was doing a presentation to a really terrific partner, really great opportunity, all that kind of stuff. But there's been a couple times in the last year that I've said to my co-founder, hey, you got to come into this meeting with me. Because we were clients to suppliers that were awful, not delivering. Mm. So both times I put on the collared shirt because I'm going in to have a conversation and I'm dressing like, professional, right? And so the Zoom light, the thing comes on and he looks at me and goes, who's getting yelled at? I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, who's getting yelled at? Your shirt. I'm like, oh, apparently I dress pretty casual most of the time and just put on the collared shirt. I guess the last couple of times that he remembers when I had to go in and read the riot act to somebody. Mm. So
I've totally went casual. Now I bought 2 polo shirts because I'm going to go speak at these conferences the next couple of weeks. Yeah. That's it. But it's polo. That's about as fancy as I'm getting anymore. It seems like it's a polo shirt.
I'm a little worried, like if a wedding comes up or anything like that, I don't even think I have a suit anymore. I have one in Arizona, but it's 15, 20 years old and I don't even know if it'd fit anymore. I don't wear suits. So I'm a little bit worried that something's going to pop up and be like, well, I'm either shopping quick or this is what you get. But
yeah. So I went to a wedding, I don't know, not too long ago and mine was tight. gained a little weight, Mike, since COVID. So mine was tight, and I could see the buttons just like straining, right? They're straining, and I'm like going, hey, you need to shield your eyes. That the person next to me goes, what? I'm like going, because I don't know if this thing's going to go. You better watch out, because I don't want to hit you in the eye with it. This button when it pops off.
That's what the tie's for. It covers up the gaps in the shirt. And then the jacket over top, you got to kind of tighten that up and suck your gut in.
Yeah. All right, man. So you learned anything today or no?
Courtney's awesome. She bought us a beer. She's our latest beer sponsor. Thanks again, Courtney.
I do think this. If you're trying to introduce new stuff to your clients, or customers or whoever it is, they don't know yet. They don't know. They don't know they need it. They don't know you provide it. There's got to be a communication plan in place, because you're their unknown. You're that person, right? So if you're that person, make sure that you're over communicating and you're putting in a good, a plan of how to get them to know and feel comfortable with that. Oh yeah, he should be able to do that. So that's what I think I learned today and this week. And that's why I brought up the topic.
Well, and I think the thing to me is that it was just such a good reminder that you don't just go along with the flow and say, well, if something hits, like, we'll never know. Talk with people like a CPA, talk with people, gather information. Knowledge is power. And you may not be prepared for the exact unknown, but you may have processes, systems, everything else in place to deal with this weird unknown that popped in. So you don't have to be sort of a victim of something you don't know is coming. Just, you can be prepared for the general area, right?
That's right. And so, because I don't want you to be the unknown, go to mikeandblaine.com. We have merch. Now you know. See, now you know. Yep. We got merch. We can buy shirts. You can buy anything about what we're doing. You can buy it there. You can also buy us a beer, which is probably the most popular thing that happens on this site, on this show. People love the $5. Just throw $5 at us. We buy beer with it, or we pay for the hosting. We pay for the website. We pay for that stuff. But $5 is the best advertising you're ever going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you guys so much. All of our existing beer sponsors, but also come in and buy some beer. We love that. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe. Make sure if you're listening to this episode, just click the like button. It does help, because YouTube's algorithms, Facebook and LinkedIn, all the algorithms they barely care if you're watching, but if you click something, if you engage, if you comment, they seem to really like that.
That's right.
And it's like, it's like a lot of these business models that we've seen. If you're at the top, it's really hard to get knocked down because the algorithms show you to everyone. If you're further down, it's hard to climb up because the algorithms don't care how good your content is. They just are pretty simplistic. Like us, follow, everything else. And that helps the show.
Hey, engagement is everything. It really does. It shows the robots that you like us.
Yeah,
so engage.
Exactly.
Isn't that what we're talking about? You got to show the robots that we're liked.
Yeah. And so the final unknown of the show, I don't even know if it's an unknown, but we'll see who's going to win your football game tonight. And the unknown is whether or not the decanter, the Mike Milan Bowl, will have to make its way across the country or not.
I would think that's a known.
Unknown.
Maybe it's a known unknown. It's a known unknown. We know there's a game. We know there's a game. We don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's a known unknown.
Or not unless you're cash flow, Mike, it's a known. I know there's a game. I know who's going to win.
There you go. We'll see if it plays out. If it plays out that way.
Yeah. You're not getting that back, Cashflow Mike, or Baltimore Mike.
Baltimore Mike.
Well,
best of luck to you both. I'm not sure I'll catch the game tonight. We'll see. Oh, Go Ravens just popped up. So there you
go. Is he still listening? He listened the whole hour. All right.
He wants to make sure you're not trash talking his team, I think, we'll see what happens. It could be Could be an interesting week next week.
Hey, when he sent a comment that says "Le Marvelous," I was out. I'm like, no, we're not playing that game. We're not going to be Le Marvelous around here.
All this stuff comes in. It's in our group chat. I'm just like, I'll just let you guys go nuts on this because I don't even know what you're talking about half the time.
There you go. That makes sense. All right, man. We'll talk to you next time.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.